Good morning and welcome back to Planner Craft. I'm Natalie and I'm going to be taking you through a little bit of work in Canvas with frames. I also might do a bit of scale towards the end of the session. So first of all, hi to Thea and hi to Deb. I've put the chat window up so I should be able to see comments from YouTube too. So we'll see how it goes. Good morning, good morning. Okay, so while I'm just waiting for a few people to join, I've just started a new document and I'm just going to focus on a 12 by 12 map for this one. Hi Tracy. If I do miss any questions, do give me a nudge and I'll try and keep an eye on comments as we go. So yesterday we did all about frames on the machine. Now obviously when we move into Canvas there's a lot more that we can do with frames in terms of not only actually punching them out of shape so that we can actually start to then have a proper frame as such, but we can also start to merge in other designs too. Good morning, Carol. So I thought it might be fun to start off with something that's really simple, and then we're going to get more and more complex as the time goes, so we can have a little bit of fun. So everything I do today I'm going to base on a photo slide. So a bit like a Polaroid or something like that, where you've got a thin border to three sides and then a fat bit at the bottom. And morning Linda, I think I might have missed you pop up. Sorry. So I'm going to bring in a square first of all. And I'm going to bring it in towards the centre of my map. Okay. And let's go for a rectangle. Now I want my rectangle to be taller than it is wide. I'm just going to rotate it. So all I did to do that is just grab hold of that top handle, press and hold shift, and then drag to the right. Hi Mum. I'm going to move that so it's just sitting just up and to the left of the top corner of my square. And I'm going to drag this out. So we don't need to press shift when we're working in Canvas to keep that in proportion. Okay, so now I'm just going to push that up, and because we're using that centre bar we're going to say that it's going to start to ignore that ratio. So I want that back there and like so. Now if we can drag over the top, so we select both, and then we can actually start to align our objects. So align and distribute will only work where there's, well, align will only work where there's two or more. Distribute space will only work if there's three or more. Okay. And hi Sharon. So I want to align it to the centre vertically. So that means that this space and this space here is even. Now obviously if we then put centre here, that's going to do something that we don't want it to do, because you're going to end up with a fat bit here and here, and we just want it so we've got a bit of a wider border at the bottom. Now yesterday I was talking about the difference between group and actually performing the calculation. Hi Louise. So on our machine we only have the option to group and weld. Now that we're in Canvas we have a few more options. So first of all we have subtract and we have divide. Now at the moment our smaller shape is sitting at the back. So if we were to press subtract, it's all going to just go, which isn't what we want. So your options are, you can change your layer order in here so that the square sits on top and then use subtract. Or you can use divide, which will basically act like everything is a cookie cutter and punch through everything else. So I'm going to take my square, I'm going to drag it up to the top, and you can see that it appears with a little blue line with a little circle right at the top of the screen. I'm going to drag and let go. Okay, so that's changed our order, so our little square is now sitting on top. We can press and hold shift and click on our lower shape, and that selects them both if you don't want to do the click and drag. Also handy to know that one if you have lots of shapes on your map that are overlapping and you're worried that you might move something that you don't want to. I'm going to go back to edit and I'm going to go subtract. And you'll see that blue line vanishes from around the middle and you just get the black frame left. That's because that shape no longer exists because it's been punched through that bottom shape. And if we go back to our layer palette, you can see there's our frame. So far so good. So there's our first nice simple frame. I'm going to duplicate it, so to do that I'm just pressing and holding Alt, then clicking and dragging to bring a duplicate in. If you can't get that to work for you, there's a little duplicate button right down at the bottom here. So if you're watching on Facebook, it might be slightly covered up. And now I'm watching on my mobile and it's just below the little like button. So next, now that we've done our frame, the advantage of doing it this way over grouping it is that we can actually start to play with a third shape. So this could be text where you want to add a bit of a sentiment. It could be a decorative border if you want to create something that looks a little different. It could be a design like an icon that you want to include within your design if you don't want to necessarily put a photo in your photo frame. So I'm just going to bring something in that we can weld. So let's just go to our word. And let's go for something that's going to be fairly bold. And let's go for the for you. Now, when we're sizing these elements, you want to always make sure that you are overlapping so that you can do the weld. So let's pop that down here a little bit. And then we can shift and click to also select our frame. Go to edit and we can go to weld, and you've welded your text to your frame. So I'm going to show you a few different options, and then yesterday I put up an album on the group so you can actually start to add your different designs to it so that you can show what you're making. So let's get another one. So again I'm going to do that same Alt and drag. Now this time let's use a border. So I'm going to go for, you want something that's going to look good on the top edge, if that makes sense. Tell you what, let's pinch the ducks. Drag that down here. I'm going to make sure my ducks are sitting on the bottom of that frame. Get that corner here. And I'm going to drag it in, like so. So we've got little ducks. Now let's say that we actually wanted those ducks a little bit bigger, which means that we're going to have fewer ducks. How would you go about it? Well, what you would do is decide how many ducks you want. So I'm going to go to about 6 ducks. And I'm just being conscious of where the one duck's beak is. Okay. I can then bring in another shape. Doesn't have to be anything fancy, just a square will do. And I'm going to line that up so I can just take off those last 3 ducks. Okay, so that's sitting over the top of my ducks. Press and hold shift and click on your ducks so that you can see that there's a blue line around both. And then we can subtract. So now we have our ducks. And then we can actually wild those as normal. So there's our little ducks in a little row swimming across the bottom of our frame. So now another idea might be that you want to include a photo in that frame, but you also want to put a sentiment underneath in that fatter space at the bottom. So again, I'm going to take another copy of this frame. I'm going to grab another rectangle. Again, I'm not worrying about size at this point. And I'm just lining it up so that it sits underneath our hole in our frame. I'm going to go to the centre top and drag that down. Okay. Do a shift and a click, and again we're going to punch that shape back through our frame. We're going to press T for text, and then we can click and put in our word. So let's go for summer. Now, when you're choosing a font for this particular method, you are going to want to go for something a bit bolder. And just because it's going to be going into a rectangle, it is easier to work with capital letters so that we've got something to join top and bottom. So there's our summer. I'm going to take that up to my box, and we can see that at the moment our art is sticking off the edge, and so if we were going to shrink it up, we're going to actually start not having enough height. So don't worry at this point. I'm going to do it so it just overlaps. Let's see if there's a slightly different font that we can use. So let's try Arial Black. So we can see that's going to be fatter and shorter. So that's not heading in the direction that we want. But if we go to something like a condensed font, then we can start to actually have the height that we need. Now you can also use character spacing to make your life a little easier too. So if I go to properties, you can see character spacing. And if we start to take this into the negative, we can actually budge those words up, or the letters up, so that you can actually get those to fit. So now I'm concentrating on that blue outer edge of my word, making sure that it's overlapping that hole in that frame. Oh, I'm missing what you're saying, oh okay to Tracy, I must have missed something. No, comments are playing up on mine, which is very annoying. So I can't see anything after Carol said morning crafty. So let's see if we can get that to update so I can see you all better. Oh, it's about Tracy's comments. Tracy's watching on YouTube, so it won't come up in the Facebook comments, but it will come up on the video. Okay, So I'm just going to zoom in because I'm just wary of this top row here. So let's zoom in a bit. No point trying to struggle to see when we've got zoom. So we're overlapping here and here, which is great, but this top row just isn't quite there yet. So I'm just going to give that a little stretch. And I'm looking to make sure that black line kind of bobs just above this one. Now that we've done that, we just need to just tweak our character spacing. Just to bring that in slightly so it still reads as summer. Hopefully I haven't lost you all yet. Okay. So now with our text sorted, we can actually weld those two together. And we end up with a pretty little frame. So let's say you wanted to actually layer that up. How could you do that? So I'm going to step back one. And I'm going to get a copy of my text. So Alt and click. And I'm going to drag that up there. I'm going to click back on my original text. Press and hold Shift. And weld that together. Then, with this bit of text up here, we want to just weld it to itself so that things like that overlap in the M actually welds properly. So you won't find that the whole word will weld necessarily, so things like the S you can see are not going to join. But that's fine for what we need. It's literally just there so that we get a nice neat finish on those letters that are definitely overlapping. So that means that we can actually then cut that out of a different colour. So if I just set the colour for it, put the opacity up, there we go. So then when we're assembling it, we can layer that over the top. You can even offset it slightly if you want, so that you have like a shadow effect. And you can start to actually create a bit of a play with the text. You could also use offset as well to do things like that. So next I'm going to save that. And I'm just going to put it on the desktop. Come on. And let's call it photo frames. Okay. So, any questions so far? Or anything you'd like me to do next? I'll start a new document. And let's this time go for a border. And I'm just going to go for a scallop border. I'm going to go to my basic shapes and let's go for rectangle. I'm going to switch it around so it's portrait. Okay, so now when I'm lining this up, I'm kind of wanting to go to the centre of this first repeat. And we can size it up. Now, if you're looking at this and thinking that's a little bit thin for what I want, then you can do that same cropping technique. I'm just going to move that down there. A little bit further up. There we go. So I'm going to duplicate that and place that over the other side. And at this point, I'm going to align the two tops. So go to Edit and then Align Top. So we know those are identical. I'm going to press and hold Alt and drag another copy. Press and hold Shift and rotate that 90 degrees by dragging upwards. Then I'm going to bring that down here. Now I'm concentrating on this corner over here for alignment. Now if we crop this where we think that we need it, which is just here, then we potentially have an issue in this corner. So if I zoom in slightly, you can see that it doesn't quite meet here. So then what you need to do is consider whether you want to resize it so it's going to be slightly thicker on the top and bottom edges, or if you want to be a bit more advanced and a bit more clever with it. So first of all, let's do our crop. And I'll show you what I mean. So there's our crop done. And I'm going to drag copy before I do anything else just up there. So to this one, I'm going to resize it so that it overlaps that corner nicely just here. Now when you're resizing, because it goes from this cornermost point, just check that nothing's gone awry here. I think that looks alright there. So that is one option, that we stretch it. And the other option is that after we've stretched it, I'm just going to do it on here and bring that just there, that we actually move that bottom line up a little. So if I click again, it's going to give me nodes, so everybody can go, no, not nodes. Okay, I'm going to click and drag across the bottom of those nodes. I'm then going to go up slightly so that I get those inside nodes too. And then all I'm going to do is just go up. It's a really tiny adjustment on this one, but if you imagine working on a larger scale, then that up could actually make quite a bit of a difference. Goody, somebody to block on Twitch. What was the font you used for the word summer? It is an Americana black condensed, and I believe it may be a Design Bundles one, but I will see if I can find it for you. So there's our frame. So then we can select all our borders and we can weld. And ta-da! We have a decorative frame. So obviously the more complex a design is, the more fiddly that little node movement's going to be. Is the blue message on the bottom left of my screen need blocking? The one and become famous, yep, they'll be blocked. Unless anybody wants to hop onto Twitch for me. I think Tracy can do it actually. I think Tracy's moderator on Twitch. Okay, so there's our first decorative frame. Let's go for something that we're actually going to import this time. want to go to Dropbox. Design bundles. And let's go for our stitch shapes. And SVG. And let's go for an oval, because I haven't done an oval this morning. So when these come in, they're always going to come in top left. So I'm just going to move my other frame out of the way just for now. And they come in black. Don't worry, that's just how they were exported when they were created. So it's not that you've done anything wrong. So if we go to properties, go to fill, turn the opacity down to 0, everything's going to vanish and you're going to panic. Right, go to line, turn your opacity up, and then it all comes back. So if you have any of these downloads, you may have looked at them and started thinking, oh my, how on earth do I work with those? So you have a few options. So if we go in our layers panel, you can see that all our stitch lines and our scallop borders are actually separate shapes. So they're not grouped in any way. So when I first got them, I did a version that I have saved to my USB, where I've literally grouped every scallop frame with its associated stitch line. So they are grouped, and that's how they work on my machine. Now obviously you don't have to work with them like that. So if I start by making everything go invisible, and then I can show you what I mean. Okay, so the biggest is at the bottom, so I'm going to turn on my outside edge. So I could go for that stitch line that's going to be really, really close. But let's say you wanted to do something a little bit more clever. We could actually skip one and go to our next stitch line, like so. Now suddenly we have a frame that is starting to look awfully different. Well, at the moment we don't even have a frame, we have a layer. So that could be that you've already cut something out with a similar oval that you could then apply on top. Yep, you do. One of the absolute benefits of having these videos is that we can go back and that you can actually create along. So what a lot of people, including Carol, do is they'll watch the first time round. They'll then have the video on YouTube or on Facebook, because it stays up there indefinitely on both, unless Facebook have another moment. And then you can actually do a little bit, stop the video, okay, then do it on your computer, then watch a bit more, stop it, then do the next bit, okay? So never think that anything I do is unreachable, and it's just a case of just take your time, don't panic, and you'll get there. So for those of you that aren't familiar with the file that I'm using, by the way, it's the nested shapes on design bundles, and I did put a link in the group ages ago, but if you'd like me to, I can put up a fresh link. So then if we want to do a frame, we could go to the next cut line. So that's going to be just inside our stitch line. Or you may think, well actually, let's go down 2 and see the difference that makes. You could do a double stitch line. Actually, I might go, yeah, let's go for that one. Hello. Hello, Trouble.
Hello.
Okay.
Does the message on the bottom left of the screen need blocking?
Yeah, we had one on Twitch.
Oh, okay.
One of those, do you want to be famous? No. No.
Oh dear.
I'm not that big headed.
Right, Ellen.
Okay.
Is that right?
Yeah.
This is my 11 o'clock break.
Carol says, "Morning, mister." In case you didn't hear that, he said morning. Okay, so I've just put in an oval, and I thought it might be fun if we try a little text to go around our frame. So I'm going to try and size my oval so it's in a similar proportion to that centre line. And next I'm going to do my text. So let's get some text, and you could do a load of X's to do some cross stitching if you wanted to. You could do a load of forward slashes or backward slashes, and that would look like you're stitching too. Or you could just do some text and be boring. So I'm going to go for happy birthday, because I'm going to be boring. Let's personalise it, shall we? So, there you go. So we'll see how we go. That may or may not fit in. But I'm going to hit enter. And it's going to go to our last font. So at this point we want to go, actually, let's just draw it. So I was going to go Child's Play, but actually, you know what, let's go to Scripty. There we go, V2. I'm going to bring this in, and I'm also going to size it down because it's just that little bit too big. We want it to fit between our stitching, not go over the top. So, down we go, right down, 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 down. And I'll just offer it up roughly so that I can see how that's fitting. So we've got a bit of a gap down there, so that looks about right. Let's set that on my oval. And I just love it when you know you can see, you can't see the button. There we go. Hey, there it goes, round the oval. So you can see that we've got a little bit of a gap, so let's put in if I move that around like so. Actually, let's take it up the top. I've got an idea. I'm going to pop that there. I'm going to set this to draw. It's kind of important for single line font. Make sure you do set it to draw. I'm going to give it a colour of blue so that I can see straight away that it's going to draw. Like so. And if we go to convert to shapes, we're setting that path in stone. Thank you. I'm just going to tweak that up just slightly away from that border. It's just a little bit close in places.
Yes, a birthday cake.
Yeah. Hi, lovely. Now.
Bye, everybody. And morning, Carol. I wasn't being rude. Ah. I see you later.
Okay. There we go. So if you want to take that little dot out, you can. So I'm just going to do that quick. It's not going to let me do it because it's in there. Single line. Yay. Okay. Fair enough. Okay, let's go for something else. I'm going to put a little decorative panel over the top. And I'm thinking, why not go for another oval? So it matches. So let's go for another ellipse. I'm going to resize that down. Oh. Come on. And I want that to fit there. Like so. And we can even put in a bit more text, so let's go for and we might even go for that one. And character spacing, because we want it to sit a bit closer together. I tend to end up doing that a lot with numbers, they always seem to have way too much space between them. And there we go. And pop that there. And we can go back through and we can give these all a colour so you can see how your frame's going to work. Let's give it a nice kind of goldy colour, and we could do our frame purple. Now, as I've set this to purple, you can see that as of yet we haven't punched that hole back through. So now I'm doing this on a file that I've imported rather than the original. I'm going to select those two shapes and then go to subtract. I'm just going to punch that back through. Now when we do calculations, it is going to bring it back up to the top. That's okay. We can just send it to the back using Command or Control, Shift and open square bracket. And that's going to push it straight to the back and down to the bottom of our panel here. So then everything else that we have hidden, we can just delete and get rid of. And we have our design ready to go. So, any questions? No? Okay. So I did say I would show this in Scalpel. What I'm going to do actually is I might save that for later in the week. So when you've got used to doing a bit more of advanced combining of digital files. Would you foil the text? Yes, I would, because, you know, it's me. I love foil. To be honest, on that colour card, if I did go that purple, I would be quite tempted to go with the white foil. So we stock a white matte foil, which is really, 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 really nice. and it would look stunning in the purple. Any other questions? So another idea might be you might use the glue pen or an embossing pen in your machine, and then you can actually use embossing powder over the top if you want to have something that's going to have more of a raised feel to it. Likewise, if you have a braille font, you could do that too, so that you can actually feel it, which would be cool. Gold foil. Yes, gold would also look good on purple. Okay, so if there aren't any other questions, what I will say is tomorrow we're going to step it up another gear. So that's 7 o'clock tomorrow night, and we're going to be taking designs from the machine to Canvas and back again, so that you can actually start to play with the designs in your machine in Canvas. And then we can access things like divide and subtract. So we can start to create even more complex designs. So as you're going along each day, I do advise that you actually go back this afternoon, have a go. Then if you do have any questions, I can address them sooner rather than later. Otherwise, by the end of the week, you might feel really overwhelmed. So it's like doing it in little baby steps. You're welcome, Tracy. So don't forget to pop your frame designs, whether that's a screenshot or if you want to actually create the actual frame itself, into the album on the group. Need to watch the bit about importing the stitched frames again. Yes, yeah, because when they come in, it's filled rather than having the lines, so it's just that little bit of swapping it round so you can actually see. Otherwise, it just looks like a black box when you wonder what you've paid for. You're welcome. So if you do get stuck, just let me know, and I should be back this afternoon. One more thing before I go is don't forget the box competition is still ongoing. If we don't have any more applications this week, I may extend the deadline to the end of June, just because we need to have more people entering. So don't be afraid to enter. So this week we're doing frames. Next week, who knows, we might be doing a bit of 3D to help you out with your boxes. So take care for now, and I'll see you tomorrow at 7 p.m. Take care and bye.